Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Audi Cycling YouTube channel, where today we're going to be taking a look at Strade Bianche, which is the fourth round of the Super Classico. Maybe I'll try and keep track as to which one we're on. Obviously won in convincing fashion by Tadej Pogacar last year, who is also in this race. But quickly, let's go take a look at what the stage looks like. It is the same as last year, if you remember, so it's longer than usual. They added on an extra loop. Once they get into Siena, they go out again and they take in some of the last few sectors once more. And so we've got 213 kilometers, plenty of altitude gain. I mean, look at it. It's like, is there even a flat bit in this last half of the race? It's very much up and down. You generally see climbers doing quite well in this race, I would say. Pogacar is obviously just a mix of everything, but you tend to see climbers and punchers doing really well in this. I think maybe say like Mohoric is the one who really bucks that trend over previous years, where he's done well, and I would call him more of a rouleur. So it's going to be a brutal day, and Pogacar is obviously the favourite. He's 34 credits this year, taking a look at VELOGAMES, which is a 2 credit increase from last year, where he was 32 credits. He's the only rider who costs this much this year. Van der Poel costs 32. Pogacar, I mean, I don't really think I need to say too much, to be honest. I think you should be picking him because he's the overwhelming favourite. He's the world champion. And yes, you could try and create some intricately crafted team where you don't go with Pogacar and you redistribute those points to try and get people who may finish, you know, in the top 5 or top 10 and be a bit clever that way. But the scoring system just generally favours somebody who can go on a solo attack and pick up those 50 kilometre, 20 kilometre and 10 kilometre to go into like breakaway points. And Pogacar is going to be that guy. I'm not sure who else will be able to really go with him. So Pogacar is really one that you should be picking. I think it would be a brave soul to not go with Pogacar. Hirschi, on the other hand, 28 credits. I don't think he is he's not an overwhelming favourite to finish on the podium, or at least his price doesn't really warrant putting him on, because he would have to definitely finish on the podium, and I think you have other podium candidates who cost less than Hirschi does. So I will be staying away from Hirschi. That doesn't mean that he's not going to do well in this race. I just think that there could be better value for money riders, especially when you're taking up a third of your team's budget already with just one rider. So you're going to need to sacrifice some points somewhere. I'm not sure if Hirschi's going to be on my team, but like I say, that doesn't mean he's not going to do well. He could certainly be a strong differential. Pidcock, I expect also a lot of people to pick. He's got a good history in this race. He's won it. He finished 4th last year, kind of out of nowhere. You know, he got left behind by Schoens and Van Hills, and yeah, he missed that move, but he still managed to clutch a 4th place, which is quite good. And I think that Pidcock is a good choice for a lot of teams. He's had a strong start to the year, and I think that he can continue that on into this race. The 22 credit riders, bit of a mixed bag. Arambarou and Madouas, for me, haven't shown the form so far this year, even though Madouas has finished on the podium of this race before. I just haven't really been seeing the signs of scintillating form from one of my favourite riders, Valentin Madouas. So I probably won't be picking him, especially when they've got other riders like maybe Gaudu or Gregoire, who could be better choices. Mohoric usually finishes inside the top 10 of this race by just infiltrating the right moves and launching a late attack. So I think Mohoric is still quite a safe choice to be going with for a top 10. He's pretty consistent in this race. Wellens, on the other hand, yes, he'll get the assist points from Pogacar. That's a big bonus. And yeah, last year, I think he was the second highest finishing UAE Team Emirates rider, but he was inside like the 20th positions. I'm not exactly sure where, but there are probably better value for money riders than Wellens. Maybe last year was a bit of an enigma. If Wellens finishes top 10 and gets the assist points on Pogacar, that's actually quite good. It just depends whether you think Wellens is going to do that. Once Pogacar kind of shoots off into the distance, is Wellens' job sort of done At that point, he's just going to sit in groups. Depends what you think. I don't think that, maybe he might finish top 20 or top 15. Could he finish top 10? He definitely could do, but I think there are just better riders who have got the support of a full team around them. I'd say in the 10s, the 20 credit riders, I like quite a lot of these, to be honest. It's also worth mentioning that Schoins will be in here. Lidl Trek have announced their team. It's just not been updated on VELOGAMES just yet. Schoins obviously finishing second place last year. There's no reason why you shouldn't want to go with him again. Bilbao, I think, is my favourite one just because of how good he's looked this season in the Ruta del Sol, the Vuelta Andalucia, and also in the UAE Tour. I think he looked really strong. He's, in this race, he's had a good history. He's finished 3 times inside the top 10 in his last 3 participations. So I think Bilbao is nice and consistent, and I really like that. Gregoire, on debut in this race, he finished in 8th place, but he was 6 credits back then, like 2 years ago. Oh, how times have changed. Gregoire, again, he's in good form, obviously. Although he did win the Phone Ardèche Classic because people went the wrong way. But still the point remains that Gregoire is still a good candidate for this race. And I'd say Healy hasn't looked that great this year. Not really sure why. He should do well in this race in theory, but I think there are just better choices like a Bilbao or Gregoire. They're just showing the form. They just have a little bit more about them at this time of year. And Turns honestly has looked good this year as well. And I think a slightly more attritional climber style race like this one where it's really attritional, I think suits Turns a bit better than say an Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. So I think Turns is still a decent choice too. 18 credit riders, Gaudu. I think back to Lenny Martinez last year. Didn't he finish 8th place, 9th place, something like that? I think that Gaudu could do something the same. He has looked good this year so far. Very good in Oman, for example. And I think that Gaudu is still a good choice, and I think he's certainly one who could get a top 10. Tratnik, obviously with the recent removal of Van Hills, I think it was like yesterday or the day before. I'm not sure who Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe will be having as their leader. I think it'll be Tratnik or Adlia, personally. So one of those two could certainly be decent. I think Tratnik maybe hasn't shown the form of last year, but I think he's one who can really launch a bit of a surprise. Ulissi, maybe. I mean, he wasn't that great in La Guelia. So, yeah, possibly not the best choice for you to be going with. So I'd say, Gaudu is probably your best one out of these, and then maybe Tratnik if you're looking for something a bit more dangerous. Vermeersch as well, he's very good on gravel. And if they don't have Van der Poel here, so again, he might have some good leadership. The 16 credit riders, this was where last year there was absolutely just wealths of candidates to go for. Adlia, I do like for this race. Although he hasn't had the most fantastic results this year, all you need to do is look back to the end of last year to see that this is a guy who's really stepped up his game. And I think that Adlia could be, a top 15 or maybe even a top 10 on a good day. He climbs really well. I mean, even like Giro dell'Emilia, look back last year, he was top 10. He is maybe still a little bit underrated, and I think that he won't be one that many will select, so a good differential for sure. Baggioli I also like in this race. He's finished top 10 in 2 pretty serious one-day races. The Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race, he was 5th. And then the Phone Drome Classic as well, he was inside the top 10. So he's got some good form. He doesn't have the best history of this race, which certainly holds me back from wanting to select him. But Baggioli, alongside a very strong Lidl Trek squad, I think could, on the right day, could infiltrate a top 5, but it's going to take things to go really right, I think, for Baggioli. But the signs are there of somebody who's in form. Carapaz, I saw an article which, was very, very ballsy of Carapaz saying like Tadej who. He seems pretty high on his form at the moment, and I'm not really sure about that because the results don't really reflect that. The last time we really saw him was in the Tour de Alpes Maritime, where he just sort of got spat off the back by Scaroni and co. So I'm not sure about Carapaz, but by all means you could certainly go with him. He is a good one-day racer at the end of the day. He is a previous Olympic champion. And he has done good one-day races in the past, and this is a very climber, more orientated race since it's got kind of longer and harder. So Carapaz for sure is a decent shout. Magnus Cort, I think a lot of people will be thinking about putting on, but he just doesn't have the greatest one-day race history. And I know he won the Giro del Veneto for last one, or the Veneto Classic last year, but and that did have gravel in there, so maybe you could provide an argument for Magnus Cort Nielsen, but I'm not overly too sure that I wouldn't have loads of faith. He always seems to promise so much in one-day races and never seems to fully deliver, so I'm not too sure about him, but by all means go with him. Del Toro I think will just be a domestique. Yeah, pretty much. That's how I see that. Formolo actually was top 10. I think he was 7th in this race last year. He's very good in this race, is Formolo. And I think, again, kind of like Adley, I don't think a lot of people will select Formolo. They'll pretty quickly just glance over him and be like, oh yeah, Davide Formolo, what's he done recently? But I think Formolo is still a good choice to be considering. Landa is here just to get ready for the Giro. Tobias Harland Johannesson might be a better choice for Uno X because he's a bit more climate orientated. Rota wasn't that great in La Guelia, so I might not be picking him. Vatsek, in theory, this race is a good race for him, but I think it's probably a little bit too hard. He's at the end of the day, he's a tall and heavy lad, so I think they might go with somebody a bit more climate orientated. Valter, again, he's very good in this race. He's finished 2 times inside the top 5, and I think that again he might get overlooked by a lot of people. So there's certainly a lot of talent in this 16 credit bracket that you should be considering. Van Aertveld was 12th in this race last year, 11th or 12th. So I think that he should have the support of Lotto. And outside of the UE Tour, where I don't think his GC position really reflects how good he was in that race, because he got caught out in the crosswinds on the final day. Van Zevenot possibly, but he wasn't that great in Gran Camino, to be honest. Zana was top 10 in this race last year. Maybe that'll sway you to do it again, but he hasn't looked that great this year, in my opinion. The 14 credit riders, Blackmore seems to, again, sort of be on the cusp, and he's certainly one I'm really tempted to pick because he always seems to have this promise of very good one-day race performance. He really burst onto the scene with like Brabant Sipel last year. But that's just the form hasn't been there this year from what I've seen. So I'm not sure. He's almost there, and he's certainly one who I'm really thinking about. And I think if you are looking for a differential, Blackmore's the guy. Quentin Herman's another one who's good on gravel. He's good over long races. And Alpecin-Deceuninck, like I said earlier, with the Miesch, don't have a massive leader in this race. Zandlo Morisa as well. He had a fantastic run of form in the Italian races at the end of last year. Plenty of top 10s there. He is also a very good one-day racer over tough terrain. I think another one which people won't think about too much. Turner was good in Class Cahayenne over, a similarly difficult race, although not as long. But I think they might be working for Kwiatkowski, who's down here. So I don't know about Turner. Probably more of a rouleur, in my opinion. The other guys, nah, not really. I would say Kevin Vermarker, but Picnic Postonel going for somebody else, apparently. I'll point them out in a little bit. The 12 credit riders, Bassato was top 15 in this race last year. I'm a big fan of this rider. I think that he could do something similar. Canal, I think he was top 30 in this race last year, but he was 6 credits then, so a little bit better value for money, but he's certainly good over gravel. He was good in Gran Camino. No reason why he couldn't be top 20. Guerrero, possibly. Movistar, again, with Formolo, Guerrero and Canal. I'm not sure who they'll go with. If there was a team classification prize, they'd probably do really well with it. Kwiatkowski, the winner of Class Cahayenne, a very good form indicator for Strade Bianche. So Kwiatkowski, I think, should be leading the Ineos Grenadiers, especially since Laurens de Plus has been recently removed from the start list. And Vauquelin as well. I think he was just inside the top 20, I want to say, last year, or somewhere between like 17th to 25th. So I think that Vauquelin could certainly do well this year, although he looked like he was coming into this race in great form last year, and it didn't work out. So is it kind of insane of me to think that he's just going to miraculously do well without kind of changing too much? I don't know. But Vauquelin's certainly worthwhile considering. Haverly into the 10 credit riders now. I'd say Haverly is an interesting one just because he's a mountain biker and therefore could do quite well over this sort of terrain. But the form gauge that we have is from the Alula Tour, where there was only really just stages with like one climb at the end, and maybe these repeated efforts might have a bit more of a wearing effect over Haverly. Houligaard's been in good form this year, so he could definitely be a top 22. Max Poole is one of the protected riders for Picnic Postonel, so make of that what you will. You could certainly go with him. I think that's not a bad move. Scaroni, I think, is going to be the one which a lot of people will select. He's the man in form. I don't think he's finished outside the top 10 of a one-day race this year. Obviously, those have been dot pro races. This is a different kettle of fish. It's a harder race. It's a longer race. More climbing. But Scaroni, form is form. He's in great form. And even if it's a little bit hard, I still think he's a good one for a top 20. And, on a good day, and if things go right, he could be a top 10. So I think with Scaroni, you're going to be kicking yourself if he does well, because the writing's on the wall that he's in good form. So Poole, Scaroni, Houligaard, Haverly, I think those are the ones which I'm really looking at. The 8 credit riders, Clément Berthet, great choice. He was good in Classica Hayen, top 10 there. In the Routes del Sol, he was second in GC, so obviously he's in fantastic form. He does well over these sort of attritional races, and I think that he's a really good choice for a lot of teams. Pretty simple as that. Remy Rojas, possibly, more of a climber type, but somebody in Group Arm is going to have to work for Godou and Gregoire, and I feel like it will probably be him. Pelayo Sanchez, I'd love to give a recommendation to, but he's DNF the last 2 races that he's done, so that doesn't really bode too well. But he is the winner of the gravel stage from the Giro d'Italia last year, so he's clearly decent over gravel. And Frank Vandenbroek is the other Picnic Postonel protected rider, alongside Max Poole. So again, make of that what you will. I don't think the results have really reflected fantastic form this year from him, but you never know. People can really pull it out of the bag on the day. And then into the 6 credit riders, where you might need a couple of these or one of them. Louis Barret, another one in great form this year. Again, kind of like Scaroni, they've been over less higher caliber races, so maybe he might get kind of found out in this one, but he's still a good one, I think, for a top 25, just because he's in good form at the moment. The other 6 credit riders, Garofoli, because Soudal Quickstep, in my opinion, don't have a big leader in this race. I never got Lander and Van Savenant, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure how great either of them will do. Garofoli has been in decent form this year, and he was 33rd in this race last year, which I know wasn't in the points, but maybe another year of development. He's had a Grand Tour in his legs now. Maybe Garofoli could crack the top 30, so that's certainly one to be thinking about. Other 6 credit riders, Jordan Labrosse was very good in the Classica Hayen. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, that was a shorter race than Strade by about 50 kilometres or so. So that extra hour plus of racing might certainly find him out a bit, but he's certainly worthwhile thinking about, because Decathlon have got a really strong team in this race, and Labrosse is going to be making up that team. He could definitely be a bit of a surprise for people. Jürgen Nordhagen, the kind of new wonder kid for Visma Lease bike, he didn't even start in Oman because he was ill, so we've got no form indication. I feel like they'll probably be going for somebody else, like a Walter or maybe even Ben Tullett, who's coming up in a little bit. So I'm not sure about Jürgen Nordhagen. I think it's a little bit risky going with him when you've got other 6 credit riders who are a safer choice. And I'd probably say that so early on in the Superclassico, just going with safety and consistency is the better thing to be considering. You have also, where are they? Tranchant, great choice. He was top 30 in this race last year. I actually think he was the best 6 credit rider last year. It was him and Canal. Apart from Canal is now 12 credits and Tranchant is still 6. He was good in Tour Down Under. He's like top 5 in GC. He's clearly in good form. Apparently he's going to be a leader for the team in this race. So Tranchant, great choice. As is Ben Tullett. He's been in good form. Top 10 in Classica Hayen. Looked good in Algarve. Cracked I think he was like, what was he? Top 5 in Phone Delorme Classic. So Ben Tullett, great choice. And that's about it for the 6s. The 4 credit riders, you might go for assist points possibly on somebody. Like, if you think that Bilbao will finish on the podium, you could go for Max van der Meulen, for example. But I would say you could probably go for people in the breakaway, might be a safer choice. Somebody like Kevin Colleoni, the Italian rider for Intermarché. They don't have a big rider in their team to like lead the kind of really focus around. So I think they'll get somebody in the break. I think Colleoni is a good choice for that. Sam Gaze, great mountain biker. Didn't he take a KOM from Filippo Ganna recently with the help of Van der Poel? Gaze, like I said, Alpecin don't have a big leader, so maybe they'll put him in the break. And other than that, yeah, Max van der Meulen. And obviously, Albert Philipsen for like Wonder Kid is 4 credits, which is absolutely mad. You could go with him. I don't know where he's going to fit into Lidl Trek's plan of this race, because they've got a lot of options with Bajoli and Tom Schoens, for example. I don't know where Philipsen's going to fit into this. This is a really long and tough race, probably tougher than any race he's done so far. So I'm really not sure what to make of it. I think that he is he's the kind of dynamite pick. He might do something or he's going to do nothing. So if you want to throw, caution to the wind, go with Albert Philipsen, because he might do something pretty unexpected in this race. If I was playing it safer, I would probably go for like Colleoni or Gaze or Max van der Meulen, for example. But this is my team at the moment. I've got Pogacar, Pidcock, Bilbao, Scaroni, Tullet and Tranchant. I'm fairly set with this team. The only thing I might do is I might say swap out Bilbao. I did actually have a team with Laurens de Plus, which I was a big fan of. But these 16 credit riders are really calling to me at the moment. Like a Valter, a Van Eitveld, Formolo, Bajoli, Adlia. But I don't really know where I'd put these points extra, because Scaroni's in great form and these 14 credit riders to me don't really give anything that much better than Scaroni. Like, if Scaroni was to be priced right now, he'd probably be like at least 14 credits. For 12 credit riders, again, I don't think they are that much better than Scaroni. So would I upgrade these 6s to a 10? I mean, I could put on Max Pool possibly, or I could put on 2 8s with, say, Berthe and Frank Vandenbroek, but I don't really think that's worth it either, because I think that Tullet and Tranchant are really good choices too. So I'll probably just stick with Bilbao or Gregoire or whatever, and I think I'm quite happy with this team. So let me know what you're thinking in the comment sections down below. I will quickly show you my women's team as well, just to round out the video. I've got Vollering, Van der Breggen, Kim Lecourt, Pietza, and Casasola for the assist points on a hopeful Puck Pietza podium, and then Pauline Ferrand-Prévot is 6 credits. So those are my 2 teams. Let me know what you're thinking in the comment sections down below, and all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Salut.